Again, don't just take what I'm saying. Look at the record. I opposed the only multilateral trade deal that came up when I was in the Senate. It was called CAFTA, because I thought it was bad for American jobs. As Secretary of State, I fought for American manufacturers against China's cheating. And when the Trans-Pacific Partnership was finally completed, and we could all see what was in it, I opposed it, because I didn't think I could look in the eyes of any American worker and say, this deal will create more jobs and raise your wages. But we need a president who doesn't just complain about trade. We need a president who knows how to compete against the rest of the world and win for America and for American workers. And that means, first and foremost, standing up to China, which is the biggest abuser of global trade. China illegally our markets, steals our trade secrets, plays games with their currency, gives unfair advantages to state-owned enterprises, and discriminates against American companies. Now, this is a trend, and we've got to break it. When I represented New York, one of the companies that had been around for 150 years there, Corning Glass, was targeted by absurd tariffs and intellectual property theft and other unfair treatment from China. Good American jobs were at stake, so I took on the Chinese government, and I pushed the Bush administration, going all the way to President Bush, to get them to join me to add to the pressure. Eventually, we got Beijing to back down. Now, recently, the Chinese economy has stalled, while our economy keeps moving forward. It grew at the slowest rate in a quarter of a century last year. So in the coming months, their behavior could get even worse. Their abuses could be even more prominent and prevalent. They may try to solve their problems at home by further taking advantage of American workers and markets. So the next president has to understand the games Beijing plays and be prepared to stop them. We've all seen what happens when a president can't or won't stand up to China. That is exactly what happened when the Bush administration repeatedly refused to enforce our trade laws, even as millions of American manufacturing jobs were lost. We gained manufacturing jobs when Bill was president. We lost them dramatically when George W. Bush was president. We can't let that happen again. I want to ramp up trade enforcement. I'm going to get really tough by appointing a new chief trade prosecutor that reports directly to me. We will triple the number of trade enforcement officers and make sure the government has the resources to bring new cases, rather than leaving the burden on workers, industries, and unions. And we'll start building an early warning system so we can intervene even before trade violations cost American jobs. Now, one of the most important battles is going to be over steel, something you know a lot about here in Pennsylvania. China and other countries have been dumping artificially cheap steel into our markets to gain an unfair advantage. That causes prices to plummet, and American steel companies and steel workers pay the price. It's illegal, plain and simple. Steel is a crucial part of our manufacturing base, and I believe it is crucial to our national security. So we cannot let this vital industry get chipped away and even disappear. As a senator, I testified before the International Trade Commission to protect New York's steel industry from dumping. I spent years advocating for retirees of Bethlehem Steel who developed cancer and other long-term health problems after helping to build nuclear weapons for our military during the Cold War. As president, I will go to bat again for our steel workers. We will throw the book at China for their illegal actions. The federal government should join the steel industry and the steel workers in bringing trade cases against China to stop illegal dumping. We should do it now. We should also reject weak automobile rules of origin provisions in trade agreements, which give Chinese steel production and other products an unfair backdoor to U.S. markets. Still Chinese steel, even when a Japanese automaker is the one selling it. Now, none of this is going to be easy, but I've gone toe-to-toe with China's top leaders on some of the toughest issues we face, from cyber attacks to human rights to climate change to trade and more. I know how they operate, and they know if I'm their president, they're going to have to toe the line, because we're going to once and for all get fair treatment, or they're not going to get access to our markets. You know, when you know how somebody operates, and you know they're always trying to game the system, and you know that they really don't care about the rules of the road, you have to get tough, and you have to be ready to really draw the line. And I think we're at that point. And I believe that what I've done and what I have seen in the marketplace and how I have dealt with the Chinese over a number of years on a lot of these issues gives me the kind of grip on the problem that the next president really, really needs. But I can't do any of this without your help. I am proud to have the support of so many unions. I'm proud to be here today speaking to all of you. We've got a primary coming up on April 26th. I'm going to work hard across this Commonwealth, as hard as I can, to reach out and meet as many voters, but I can't do all of that without your help. I need you to speak up and speak out to your friends, your neighbors, people you come in contact with, because this is one of the most consequential elections in our nation's history. I want to knock down all the barriers that are holding people back. And I was thinking about this the other day when we announced the great accomplishment of raising the minimum wage in New York, and I was invited by the governor to be with him when that bill was signed. And I was reminded this week is the anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was in Memphis supporting striking sanitation workers, members of AFSCME Local 1733. He was standing with them in their quest for better wages and safer working conditions. What is more American than that? Those workers were seeking dignity, fairness, and justice. So of course he was there. In his final speech, before he was killed, Dr. King said, "Let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with a greater determination. And let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge, to make America what it ought to be." That is still our mission, my friends. And I believe with all my heart, we indeed can make America what it ought to be if we do it together. Instead of being divided, instead of having the name calling and the finger pointing, which only makes those who are powerful very happy. Because the more we are divided, the less we can unite against them. But if we reach for love and kindness and respect instead of bluster and bigotry, if we lift each other up instead of tearing each other down, if we stay true to the promise of America, there is no challenge we can't meet or no barrier we can't break. So I am proud to be with you, my friends. Thank you. Thanks to the ALF-CIO. Thanks to the hardworking people of Pennsylvania. Let's go win an election in April, and then let's do it again in November. God bless you.